भाई नीचे झुक कर दादा सर रुकिए ना सर रुकिए ना सर वहाँ पे सर रुकिए सर यहाँ पे लेके सामने सर यहाँ पे सामने सर यहाँ पे सर यहाँ पे बोलेगा कौन यहाँ पे नहीं आ
think they're the same person. And the more Jeevan gets to know this strange three-headed girl, the more he falls in love. But this drama, before a happily ever after, an abduction, a fight, a family reunion, a love scene, a psychological unraveling, a spiritual awakening, an ex-girlfriend, an annoying boss, three-interfering sister, a doped-up flatmate, and so much more. I mean, seriously, if there's one book that you should read this year, let it be Mimia Multiple by Debashish Lrengbam. It's spicy, it's a heavy cocktail that hits you with a zing and leaves. And present here is our guest of honor, the very talented and the one and only actor Arjun. We also have with us eminent journalist, senior film critic, and the president of India Film Federation of India, Mr. J.P. Chokse. Is a joy to work with. We are honored to publish him. And he will also be here post-event for Come Forward, and please launch the book.
If we come forward, they'll tell us to go back. I just want to tell you, we can only stand up.
Now, Javed Saab, I'd start the story about Mimia Multiple.
Well, it's interesting, and it is off.
Hello.
I mean, it's interesting that recently another young writer had asked me to release his book, and the title, if my memory helps me, was Corners of a Straight Line. And there was a hero, and there were 4 girls. And now here we have 3 girls, thankfully all of them are one. But one can see that young writers are becoming a bit too ambitious. So they are not happy with one heroine. Greedy of them. Anyway, congratulations to him. Yes, what a young friend was talking about the genre of the story. As a matter of fact, traditionally we Indians don't believe in that concept of genre that West has accepted. We don't believe in stories, we believe in sagas. And our sagas have all the genres together. This is perhaps we are genetically trained to accept only those stories which have more than one color, more than one rasa. You look at our films, you look at our classical stories, you look at epics like Mahabharata, Ramayana. So we are not conditioned by that concept of genre that West follows. After having said that, I must first of all, I should have started from there. I must congratulate the people who have made what a wonderful place is this title Wave, and it's a great title, I must say, for a bookshop. It's wonderful to know that in today's world, it is possible to have such glamorous, such spacious bookshops in Bombay. That's wonderful. You know, in recent years, what had happened that in this frenzy to catch the gravy train, we had lost certain luggage on the platform, and that luggage was literature, art, classical music, so on. And it's wonderful to see that no thanks to my generation, now young people are getting interested in literature, they are writing books and they are reading books. And on one hand, we see that there are so many other sources. You have television, you have iPads, you have so many other sources. But I think the book has its own charm. And the kind of imagination, the kind of fantasy a book can provide you, I'm afraid even cinema cannot do it. Because when you are reading a novel, you are not only the reader, but you are also the director, you are also the art director, you are the cameraman, and you are the casting director. Everything is being formed in your mind. While in films or on television, you are served the menu, this is it. This is the set, this is the visual, this is the face of the heroine, this is the face of the hero, this is the location. While reading a novel, you create everything on your own. And I have noticed that, you know, what is the advantage when you are reading the novel, that your sets are elastic. Sometimes they can be oblong, sometimes they can be square, the same set. You can change them immediately. Dracula, you know, if you see any of the productions of Dracula and you read the book, while you have sound effects, you have visual, you have background music, and on the paper you only have words and paper, but the kind of chill that will bring down your backbone, that book, film cannot do it. This is the magic of words. And I must say that whatever, I have not finished the book, I have read from here and there. I mean, I must say that my young friend Debashish has created the magic. So he takes you in. When you will read about these characters that were mentioned, you will identify with them, you will feel that you know them, or you would rather like to know them, whatever. So congratulations and best of luck. Thank you.
And Arjun, we love to know your thoughts. We love to know your thoughts about young writers and youth coming out like this.
A novel with more than 2 heroines.
मतलब हीरो के लिए तो अच्छा ही है. वैसे भी आजकल they keep asking us ना women oriented पिक्चरें बन रही है, which I keep telling them, look at it in the nicest way possible. There are better characters for actresses being written rather than just looking at it कि female centric picture. I think that's a new wave in conversation that has come up, but it's been there for many years. Characters for women just on screen have now become fantastic. That's why it seems like a wave. But where literature is concerned, we've always had fantastic female characters as well. And this book is no exception to have bipolar, but tripolar almost. The girl is got 3 shades, so it's amazing. But before I go on about the book, I would like to just say I'm nervous, apprehensive, or sharam aa rahi hai because I'm sitting with 2 gentlemen who have seen me grow up. And I have no capacity to speak in front of them without mumbling and jumbling and not making any sense, because we are here with the master of words, Mr. Javed Akhtar. I think his body of work speaks for itself, and when he speaks, everybody stops their work. And he is one of the nicest people I've met, and I'm honored and flattered to be sharing stage with him today to be part of this movement, like he said, where literature, art, and being an artist, I can promote and encourage a new talent like him. I think our industry, more than ever before, being selfish as an actor and what I've understood, we have now realized the value of good writers. I think beyond his era, when he did branch out and stem out and prove with Salim Saab that writing is the backbone of any good film at the end of the day. There was a phase, like he said, where a lot of things got lost. we tried to put in all those masala ingredients into cinema, into even maybe the writing, into the thought process, and there were a lot of things that went haywire in between, but I do see tremendous amount of value, and I foresee it will come back for young writers, for people who have a vision, for people who want to take chances. And I think the cinema that is doing well is stemming from the fact that there are better writers being inculcated into cinema. And Debashish also is an example of that. He started from what I feel is a very, very important route. He's done television. And I think that's a very, very underrated element of being creative, because you got to write on the spot, you got to write for the next day, you got to write thinking about pan-India. And if you can cater to that generation, that audience, then you're capable of delivering whether it's a book or tomorrow it's a film. So I think it's fantastic that he's come up the hard way, the correct way, and I think he's experienced enough to handle a book today, and I'm very, very glad that HarperCollins is giving young writers a chance. More importantly, giving young talented writers a chance. I have to confess, I don't have a ferocious appetite for reading. मैं scripts बहुत अच्छी तरह पढ़ लेता हूँ. मैं देवाशीष को वही कह रहा था कि अगर आप script बना के भेजते तो मैं शायद जल्दी पढ़ लेता. I have to confess, I don't read a lot. I do watch a lot of films because I've grown up in that generation, and my father being a film producer, I've always ended up watching films. But I'm really, really just happy to be here to support somebody who has the potential and talent, and hopefully it'll get nurtured as time progresses, and he gives us many, many more fantastic books, not only this one. I didn't screw up.
Debashish, talking about...
ट्रेन का पता नहीं.
Shuksa sir, you've read the book.
Yeah, I read the book. I read it 4 months back.
Oh.
Entertaining, enlightening book. You have described the entire book very well, but you fumbled in your last sentence. When you said it is a great commercial book. I'm sorry, the word commercial has become an abuse today. Whereas commercial is cheap, it's not certainly cheap. There are certain very serious philosophical passages in the entertaining book. And he is dealing with number of themes. One of the themes is who is normal, who is abnormal. In our times, in our abnormal times, it is really very difficult to decide who is normal. In the novel, there is a character of 3 sisters who throughout the novel look absolutely normal, healthy, happily married women. Then one day suddenly the masks fall. And what is revealed is horrifying. While reading that particular chapter, I said, oh my God, they have not agreed to work. I am prepared to produce the film. I am prepared to produce the film if these 2 talented young people agree to work. And producing a film with Arjun Kapoor and Kangana Ranaut is no financially risky proposal at all. These days, all films with top stars are safe. When Guru Dutt had to repay 28 crore rupees in Kagaz ke Phool, and Raj Kapoor had to make a Bobby to clear the days of the gone are those days now. So if these 2 stars agree, I'll certainly make a film on this. हमने कहा 1 book नहीं है, तो अब तो मेरा नंबर 2016 में आएगा.
Now, since while speaking you said these 2 young people, so after hearing that I am willing to do anything for you. No problem.
I think he was referring to you and Kangana and the young people. Listen to me.
Debashish, my question is to you. So you write about Mia, this fascinating character.
I think the frank truth would be that Mia is based on a couple of women I know, but all different women, fortunately. Yeah. They are actually, but they've come on condition of being anonymous, so we'll leave it at that, yeah. I think Alicia is there within each one of us to an extent. I think that's the beauty of it. I've just taken a condition which each one of us have. We are all different people at different points of time. The only thing which I have done is that I have exaggerated that to an extent to give drama to the plot. But I believe that each one of us have a Mia, a Tanya, and an Alicia within us. So yeah, I would say it is based on a lot of people I know.
Some of the books that have inspired you to write, to grow as a person.
As a matter of fact, the list is pretty long, I'll talk about it, but I must say that when you are writing a screenplay, you only have audio and visual. I mean, ultimately, that will be provided to you, the audio and the visual of the character. But when you are writing a novel, you can write the thought process of the character. You can give your own opinion about the situation and analyze it, which is not in the film. So it's a package deal. I mean, it has its advantages and disadvantages. So I suppose it's a different ball game. In all honesty, I must confess that I have written so many scripts, but I will be slightly scared if you ask me to write a novel. I don't know how I'll do that, whether I'll be able to do it. It is a different genre of writing. As far as my getting influenced or impressed by a particular writer or a particular book, they say if you are influenced by one, you are a plagiarist. If you are influenced by 100, then you are a research scholar. So thankfully I was influenced by many. And another thing which is very important, and I would like to mention, that what happens when you talk to people who have read books and they talk about the books, they only give names of extremely respectable classics. But the fact is that anybody who reads only very serious and heavy literature and only classical literature and names that are really revered and honored is in trouble. You see, there is a chance that it may make you niras, because if you acquire it, your intake is so heavy and so much, it can bog down. It can bog down your sensibility, your life quality. It is equally important to read light literature. Now, we Indians tend to become very Puritans, about comedy, about mystery, about detective novels. Somehow we feel this is B-grade literature. B-grade, even cinema. Perhaps we are not capable of producing a Charlie Chaplin, because however good the comedian may be, we will not respect him. I wonder if we are capable of creating a writer like Conan Doyle, because we'll think, oh, it's a mystery novel, it's a mystery, so theek hai hoti hai. Ye koi high literature thodi hai. It's not right. The fact is that I have been fortunate enough that I was born in a family where my father was a writer, my mother was a writer, my uncles were a writer, my grandfather was a writer, his mother and his father were a writer, her father was a... I am 7th generation of writers. Farhan and Zoya are 8th, and Farhan's daughter has started writing. So that is the 9th. So that is how it is. So your future, as far as the script is concerned, is safe. So, so, so I was brought up in an ambience, in an atmosphere where there were books all around and talk of literature. So that time in 50s and 60s, those were my formative years, decades, there was a very strong progressive writers movement in India. So that influenced me greatly. Then I was introduced to Russian writers, because my parents were Communist Party card holders who used to get all the Russian literature. So beside, say, Gorky or Sholokhov or Chekhov, I have read writers like Nikolai Starovinsky and so on. So I was 13 when I read Mother by Gorky. Then a writer like James Hadley Chase, when I was in college, he influenced me. And I have no shame in saying that if Brothers Karamazov or Dostoevsky or Dickens influenced me, at the same time I was influenced by novels written by James Hadley Chase. They were smart, they were quick, they were understatement, they had punchlines and so on. And I think whatever little screenplay I know, the technique of screenplay I have understood, these novels, these bestsellers, that you get on the railway platforms have contributed a lot in that, because there in those bestsellers they are desperate to keep the tempo. They want to keep your attention all the time, while a classical writer doesn't bother about it. He says, all right, if you want to read my book, read, otherwise go to hell. But these people who are more, in inverted commas, commercial, have that desperate desire that they should catch your attention by the first line. So I have learned from that also, from great writers like Krishnachandra and Premchand, or say Tagore. So the influences are many. I mean, if you are sensitive, if you keep your eyes and ears and mind open, there is no dearth of inspiration or learning. Thank you.
Arthur Conan Doyle's Indian counterpart we have studied, both of us, Javed.
To match the curtains and the sofas. And in many houses, I used to see, now thankfully it is over, the Encyclopedia Britannica, because it has that dark brown cover that matches the furniture. देखिए, आज के दौर में मैं सच बताऊं आपको, मैं कुछ भी कह सकता हूं, लेकिन फैक्ट ये है कि जो बिल्कुल कंटेम्प्रेरी यंग राइटर्स, आई एम नॉट मच फेमिलियर विद द राइटिंग. So if I give an opinion, that will not be credible. I could have thrown any googly, but must confess honestly that I am not familiar with this generation of writers. And I keep hearing names, and there are people who have become very popular. But the fact is that I am not familiar with their work.
ऐसी कोई किताब है जिस पे आप मतलब इस बुक को छोड़ के कोई ऐसी किताब है जिसमें मूवी बननी ही चाहिए अब तक बनी नहीं?
ऐसी तो बहुत किताबें हैं. You know, recently I was in London and I was walking on the Oxford Street with a friend, and I told her that when I was 16 or 17, I had read a novel, If I Forget Thee, and I don't remember the name of the author. And somehow, anyway, so I don't know who had written it, I don't remember the name of the author, but that was a fantastic novel. And I'm surprised why it was not made into a film in Hollywood. Now he has become an international star. So she said, okay, let's find the book. And within one block, she found a bookshop, and she entered, and she told this gentleman who was sitting on the counter that the title of the book, If I Forget Thee, we don't know the name of we have forgotten the name of the author. So can you find this book for us? And I am a technology challenged person, so I was totally shocked that within 1 minute that man said that this book is out of edition, it's not in the market and not in circulation. There are only 2 copies. One is in Ireland, another in Cincinnati, USA, at such and such shop. So she said, can you send it at such and such address in Bombay? He said, yeah, we paid the bill or whatever. And then I got that book. If I Forget Thee, I had read when I was 16 years old, but that book remained with me, and I think it can be a great novel. Then there are certain true stories, like there was a lawyer in 28, Joe Lubavitch, and Quentin Reynolds, a very big respected journalist, has written a book on him, Courtroom, about him and his different cases. He was a criminal lawyer, perhaps the most successful criminal lawyer ever born, because in his whole life he had fought 163 criminal murder cases and won 161. Lost 2 of them because the client used to lie to him also. And how he used to win cases. And ultimately this man, who was such a cold-blooded, ruthless professional, somehow got emotional about one case about 9 black boys from Alabama who were falsely implicated in a rape case and given capital punishment. The youngest was 9 years old and the oldest was 17. And this man left his successful business and went to Alabama and fought free for these boys. So this can be a great film. I don't know why nobody has made a film on it. So there's so many stories, some true, some fictitious, that can be great films.
अर्जुन आपके हिसाब से कोई ऐसी कोई किताब है जो आपने पढ़ी हो आपको लगे
मैंने अभी 3.5 मिनट पहले कहा तो मैं किताबें पढ़ता नहीं।
आपने जितनी पढ़ी हो कब पढ़ते हैं आप?
नहीं, मैं स्क्रिप्ट्स पढ़ता हूँ। I've never had the appetite to read, unfortunately. As a hobby, I just took up film viewing. I used to stay awake and watch films all the time. And I have to confess, मैंने 2 States भी नहीं पढ़ी है जो मैं बहुत बार बोल चुका हूँ. I thought played the character. No, that was an individual choice. I didn't want to read it to be influenced. Yeah, the possibilities are endless in terms of the kind of material available. Sometimes you don't have to pick up a particular book. It is just being inspired in a genre, in a world. Today, the fact that Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter have been turned into films, they stem from what? Literature. Today, India needs maybe visionaries like that to not only write but to be able to execute it. So there are so many ideas that exist in our mythology. Our mythology is the greatest writing in the world. I mean, that I think जो पढ़ते नहीं हैं वो भी कह सकते हैं. The Ramayana and Mahabharata in itself have so many stories waiting to be told. Like I've always been fascinated by our own Indian culture. So there's so much, like Javed Saab said, so many historical characters, so many true stories, so many incidents waiting to happen. It's just about being able to create that situation where you can make those films. It's not about what I want. We should be able to think out of the box, not ki yahi ek kitab hai. There's so many more stories that exist.
There is a problem, if I may add to it. Any good novel, any good short story, any play will always be rooted in a particular culture, in a particular soil. But when you are making a commercial film, when you are making mainstream Hindi cinema, you want to please all. If the picture is, suppose you are making a Marathi film, then you are fine because you know that the picture will have Marathi language, Marathi ethos, Marathi characters, and Marathian traditions and everything. If you are making in Bengali, if you are making in Gujarati, then you are catering to the audience of particular region, audience that is rooted in a particular culture. But when you are making a Hindi film, you are trying to please all. And in this endeavor, characters become ruthless. You will always be scared to take a classical novel or a great novel and turn into a mainstream commercial cinema because that novel will be rooted somewhere. That is why it's a good novel. But when it comes to mainstream, that becomes the handicap. So that is why it has happened very rarely that mainstream cinema has taken a classical or a respected novel and made a film on it. There were times when we had a much smaller and more educated middle class. When middle class was coming through education, not through industrialization. That time, Sharad Babu, Premchand, they were the writers that were turned into, their work was turned into films. But now, you see, you have a huge middle class in this country that fills these multiplexes. But I'm afraid that it will take a generation or two to reach that intellectual level that 50s or 60s had in the middle class. So you wait for next 15, 20 years and then films will be made on novels.
But I just remember there was a book that I did want to, that has become an English film. It was Alexander Dumas' is the Count of Monte Cristo. That's actually been something very interesting that I've always thought will make for an interesting enough Hindi feature as well. Because, correct, so it's been made, adapted or utilized in its own sense. But it's very interesting, like now Christopher Nolan says his inspiration to make Inception, he used the tale of two cities to create a reference point. Now, you don't need to only to pick up a book. It's an influence in your life, in your culture. So that's why directors and writers, I guess, they are an evolved species in comparison to us actors who only fulfill one part. They have that world, and I think that's the fascinating part. Like Javed Saab said, you can create a world with your writing. So more than a novel or a script, it is to create those worlds. I'm excited to see. Hopefully, we'll get those.
Interpreted Inception in a different manner. Rajkumar Hirani.
Sir, वो तो each audience member will interpret a film in, as in that's the uniqueness of
No,
watching
the
a film.
very idea of inception is there in PK. Even Rajkumar Hirani himself has confessed that after watching PK, I rewrote my screenplay. Otherwise, it was very similar.
100 people, and a young man got up, he had to read his short story, and he said that before I read my short story, I must make an honest confession that I have been influenced by Kamu, and Kamu has been a great influence, and even in this story you will feel that it is like Albert Camus, but I couldn't help it. And then he read the story, and everybody was quiet because he was influenced by Albert Camus. A lady who knew Camus well, she got up and said, young man, there is no influence of Albert Camus on it. It has nothing to do with Camus' work. You just forget it, that you are influenced by Camus. Your story and Camus' story have nothing to do with each other. I don't know why I have narrated it, but there must be some reason.
क्या बात कर रहे हो? सनसनी केस खोला था। मैं अभी आपको मेरी डेट की डायरी भेजता हूँ। I'm going to start shooting soon. अभी तो ये same चीज कही है मैंने। कल ही मैं दिल्ली में था जब मीडिया से मिला बाहर। I'm starting end of July we will start shooting. And that's pretty much the status in terms of when we begin. The rest of the details, it's only fair that Balki sir talks. क्या मैम? कौन? No मैम. विस्तार से आप थिएटर में देखिए ना. मतलब हम आपको सब बता देंगे तो फिर थिएटर में क्या बचेगा?
नहीं आप सबको मत बताइए, मैं इनके साथ 2 घंटे
आप आइए विस्तार से बातचीत
2 घंटे बैठ जाइएगा जरा, अभी हम बाहर ही बता दें.
चलिए आपको इतना कह सकता हूँ कि it's a romantic film and it's based in an urban setting. That's pretty much where I feel I'm allowed to speak. जिनकी फिल्म है उन्हें हमेशा पहले बोलने का मौका देना चाहिए where a film's material is concerned. अच्छा इसके बाद चले जाओ ना घर, ठीक है माइक जल्दी पूछ ले. Yeah, I mean, I tried writing because I wanted to be a director, and I wasn't very good at it because my mind seemed to run much faster than my hand could, and I thought of too many things that didn't eventually make sense in terms of a character. I just wanted to encompass everything into one book, and I was very young, naive, and gullible at that point. I thought I can achieve it. Not book, it was actually for a script that I was pursuing at that point to be a director. And I realized maybe I'm not ready yet, so I've not dwelled on it after. And I really don't know. You evolve over a course of time. आज मैं कुछ और चाहूँगा, 5 साल बाद कुछ और चाहूँगा. So जब सच में लिख लूँगा, it'll be easier for me to answer that.
आप बताइए, मुझे तो पता नहीं इसके बारे में, प्लीज बताइए. हाँ मेरा ख्याल है आई थिंक
और विस्तार से पूछिए, क्या पूछना चाहेंगे? जी.
You are reducing the whole press conference to a shit. Ask somebody else to shut up.
सर वो मेरे दोस्त है और मैं उन्हें पर्सनली विश कर सकता हूँ, तो मैं बिल्कुल उन्हें करूँगा.
आप इस तरह का सवाल मत पूछिए. Please don't ask such questions. This is a book launch, not a film gathering. Whoever allowed you to come in.
Okay, so before we wrap this up, I have one final question for Debashish. Debashish, now that you're here and your potential readers are all in front of you, any message
Hopefully.
you have for them?
Please do read the book, and thank you for coming to the launch of Mimia Multiple. As you know, it's a love story between 2 highly dysfunctional people who are not at all compatible with each other, unlike your usual love story. The guy is manic depressive, suicidal. The girl is actually 3 girls in one. So it sounds like a thriller, but it's actually a romantic comedy, and I hope that when you get to read it, you will discover more. So please do enjoy it, and thank you so much, Javed sir. Thank you, Arjun, and thank you, Chokse uncle. Thank you so